John motherfucking Wick 2, son! Yeah. John Wick, Chapter 2. Came out like a week ago. I've already seen it twice. If you haven't got the impression yet, I kind of dug the flick. I did. Awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. If you weren't going to go see it, go to hell. Go see it. This obviously is the sequel to the 2014 Keanu Reeves action flick, John Wick. So we get the Baba Yaga is back. This time he basically, long and short of the plot, like the plot matters in a movie like this, but basically he refuses a marker from somebody from that secret society, the Continental. And basically he's almost killed. So he's pissed, naturally, and then he kills everybody that stands in his way, on his way to kill the bad guy. And it's fucking awesome. One of my favorite modern day film critics, he used to work for Rolling Stone. I think he left there. I don't know where he's at now, but Peter Travers. He's one of the only mainstream critics I still read quite often. And he described John Wick Chapter 2 simply as it's pure cinema. And I couldn't agree more. Specifically, there's a sequence at the end, and it takes place inside this museum. And I might be wrong, even though I've seen the movie twice. I'm being an idiot and forgetting. There's this huge gunfight that takes place inside. I believe the exhibit's called Reflections of the Mind or something like that. So it's this really trippy, wing of the museum that has a lot of, neon lights, mirrors, and just, stained glass. It's just so... It reminded me that, one of the best movie special effects is literally still the use of mirrors, lighting, all this stuff that's cheap. It's not CGI work. It's literally how you light a sequence, where you place the camera after you light it. That makes all the difference in the world, and it's very cheap to do. That's why I love it. If another company was making these John Wick movies, they'd be hella expensive. The first one, I think, cost $25 million. This one, I think, was $40 mil. So for typical Hollywood fare, these are dirt poor. I mean, Chapter 2, when it opened up last weekend, it already made its money back in its first 3 days. But anyway, it's one of the John Wick's one of those types of movies. I know I've said this often. You already know if you want to see it or not once you see a trailer for it. So I'm sure all the people that are really into John Wick 1 have already seen number 2 and loved it just as much as me. Even though I've heard some people, my parents included, said that they, while they did enjoy John Wick Chapter 2, they didn't like it as much as the first one. I'm kind of off the high of seeing it recently, so that's why I'm oh my god, I love it. One of the criticisms is that there was a lot more martial arts, gunplay, blah 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 blah. Spoilers, by the way, John Wick kills 128 people. I looked it up in John Wick Chapter 2, and I understand that, but once again, it's this is the type of film franchise where, that type of stuff you kind of have to put on the back burner of the brain and just, rely on the visuals sensation that you're getting versus the logical. I don't know. It's just a fun movie. It's a roller coaster ride of a flick. Later on, when it comes out on Blue, I'm sure I'm going to watch Part 1, Part 2 back to back and, see which one is still the stronger film. But the movie's awesome. It's a success. People are loving it. And it sets it up perfectly for Chapter 3, which we all knew even before we saw Chapter 2 was inevitable. So I'm looking forward to it. Keanu Reeves is one of those guys. I am a fan of his. Not a big fan of, certain, acting roles he took in the 90s. He was in Much Ado About Nothing, and you're sitting there reciting Shakespeare next to Emma Thompson and, Kenneth Branagh. You're going to sound terrible unless you know what you're doing, which sadly he did not. But that, besides that, I love Keanu Reeves. He's Johnny Utah. Even before Neo, I always think of him as Johnny Utah from Point Break. But there hasn't been a good action movie in the theaters for a few months now, so go check out John Wick Chapter 2. Loved it. See you later. Peace.